and welcome to another episode of the Marco Podcast.
All right, today's episode is going to be the conclusion of the event planning series. So today you'll get steps 5 and 6. Last week we talked about picking a date and a venue, as well as getting in contact with your entertainment and your caterers. Today's episode, we're going to talk about branding your event and advertising and marketing it, as well as setting a budget. Well, I'm sorry, not a budget. We already talked about a budget, as well as coming up and making a master plan for your event. So step 5 is going to be branding your event and marketing and advertising it. For a personal event, what you'll want to do is you're going to want to start sending out your save the dates and your invitations, depending on what type of, I should say more so depending on what type of event it is. If it's a wedding or an anniversary dinner or a retirement party, like a big milestone birthday, something that you've started planning out in advance. Usually people start planning out their weddings anywhere from 6 months to 2 years in advance. Retirement parties, usually maybe about 6 months to a year in advance, and anniversary dinner is usually about a year in advance. So if it's an event like that, you're going to want to get save the date sent out usually about 6 months before your event. People who plan ahead, they usually start making plans about 3 to 6 months out. So you'll want to get a save the date out just so that they can have that on their calendar and know that it's coming. You want to get a formal invitation sent out 3 months prior to the event. If it's something a little smaller, like a kid's birthday party or just a regular birthday party or a dinner party. So I don't know, kids' birthday parties, we may need to start treating those like weddings to make sure that they get on everyone's schedule. But typically an invitation, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks in advance for our birthday party invitation, no more than probably 2 months. If it's a business event, the way that you will want to brand it and market it, Eventbrite is a great way to put your event out there so that people will know about it and they'll be able to register for the event. On Eventbrite, you can choose to do a free event, a paid event, or you can choose to do kind of a donation type of event where people just pay whatever it is that they can pay. Eventbrite does take a percentage of whatever it is that you use. A percentage of whatever it is that you sell your tickets for, but Eventbrite is a good way to get your event out there. Of course, Facebook, you can create an event and then you can mark the event as public or private depending on who your audience is for it and who you're trying to market that event for. Instagram, word of mouth still works great. If you are a storefront business, you can put flyers up in your establishment. You can also pass out flyers, ask your customers to help you and pass out flyers. So that's how you would market it for a business. But you definitely want to, with anything, the sooner you get it out, the better that you get it out, because it gives people time to plan and to be able to be there if they really want to be there and if they're able to be there. Your event is only going to be as successful as your marketing and your branding of the event. If no one knows about it, then people can't show up. And this goes for a personal event or a business event. If no one knows about it, they can't show up. If people don't know about it to the last minute, you can't get mad if they already have plans. If you've been planning an event for 6 or 7 months and you wait until the week before to tell people about it, then that's on you, because you can't just expect people to drop everything that they're doing, even if it's just sitting at home doing nothing, to come to something that you waited until the last minute to tell them about. So the sooner that you can get that out there and start letting people know, the better it is. Even again, if it's just a save the date to let people know, hey, I'm having this event coming up. I would really like for you to be there. Still working out all the details, but save the date for more information to come. Just let people know. The final step that I'm going to talk about is creating an event master plan. So Benjamin Franklin once said, failure to plan is planning to fail. And I completely agree with that. For an event, you need to create a master plan, because anything can go wrong in an event. It's like Murphy's Law. If it can go wrong, it's probably going to go wrong. And creating a plan helps you to kind of prepare for those hiccups that may happen throughout the event. Of course, by no means you can't plan for everything. I mean, that's just life. You can't plan for every little thing, but you can plan for some things and you can be prepared. If you have a plan, it'll still help relieve some of that stressing out or freaking out because something has happened. So, some things that you should include in your plan are what to do if your speaker or your entertainment or your caterers, if they don't show up or if they're running late. You need to have a contingency for that. And this is for a business event or a personal event. What are you going to do if someone is running late or if they don't show up, and especially if there's no communication about it? So whether there is communication or isn't communication, you need to know what you're going to do. What happens if you have rogue guests? And by rogue guests, I mean people that were not invited that show up, or people that bring extra guests and just do not tell you. What are you going to do for those rogue guests? How are you going to handle that situation? Who is going to handle that situation? Are you personally going to handle it? Or are you going to have security there to handle it? Are you going to have a designated person to handle it? Technology not working, this is especially important if you're doing like a conference or a summit or something along those lines. What happens if your technology fails? What do you do if a staff member or a volunteer does not show up what they were supposed to do? You also need to have a layout of the venue so you can know how the venue is going to set up, and if people are going to have stations, what their stations are, and where they need to be at. This plan should also include your staff and your volunteers, their roles and their assignments for the day, so that again, if someone doesn't show up, well, this person A didn't show up, person B only has 2 tasks. You'll also want to have an agenda for the event. Even if it's a wedding, for the reception part, you'll definitely want to have running things and keeping everybody abreast as to what's going on. Your DJ will get your agenda for that. If it's for a business event, you'll still just want to have, even if it's not like a presentation or a conference or something like that, you'll still want to have some type of flow of how things are supposed to go, even if it's just something that you and your staff and your volunteers know, so that someone can tell if there's a hiccup or if something's going wrong or if you kind of need to move something around a little bit. You'll want to have contact information for everyone involved in the event: speakers, caterers, the venue, the DJ, the staff, the volunteers. And when I say have contact information for them, I do not mean have their contact information stored in your phone, because that goes back to one of the other things that I listed on the master plan: technology. Technology fails all the time. And you do not want to be in the middle of trying to plan an event or going through your event checklist and realizing that you need to call someone, and for whatever reason, the number didn't save in your phone. You can't pull the number up. Anything. You want to have this written down so that if there is an issue with your phone, that you can still have the contact information for the people, for whoever it is that you need to get in contact with. I remember when I was doing my best friend's bachelorette party, I had an issue with my phone. Like, my phone just completely cut off. It would not cut back on. Do not know what happened to it to this day. But luckily, I had phone numbers written down for all of the different events and places that we were supposed to do, and for all the different places and all the different things that we were supposed to do that night. So I was able to call and say, hey, I'm having issues with my phone. If you need to get in touch with me about something, please call this number. And I just like took my best friend's phone for the night so that I could make sure that we stayed on track with everything. But had I not had those numbers written down, then we would have been SOL. So write the numbers down. And then the next day, my phone just miraculously started back working. Like, I was literally walking into, please write down those important numbers for your contact list. And you'll also want a checklist just to make sure that you have everything that you need, that you brought everything that you're supposed to bring, that everyone else has what they need, that nothing's missing. A checklist is important. And the final thing that I have on the list is a safety plan. Just in case anything happens, you want to make sure that you're able to get people medical attention if they need it, that you're able to get people out the building if they need to get out the building, just anything. You need a safety plan. Those are my 10 things that I have for an event master plan. And of course, you can add your own things in there that you feel are important, or that hey, I need this to be able to complete my event. Add them to the list. Like, this list is not inclusive. I mean, you can add it, you can take away from it. I wouldn't recommend taking anything away from it, but if you're like, oh no, I don't really think I need that, then hey, go for it. This is the ending of the event planning series. So, just to recap all 6 of our steps that we had, we started off with determining your event goals and objectives. Step number 1, establishing the event budget, which was step number 2, choosing a date and a venue. Step number 3, contacting your speakers, presenters, entertainment, caterers. That was step number 4. Branding and marketing and advertising for your event. Step number 5. And then creating an event master plan was step number 6. So I hope that you all enjoyed this series and that you were able to get some tips on event planning and getting started with planning an event.
Thank you for listening. Please make sure to follow and rate the podcast whenever you listen.